What is up, YouTube? My name is Trinity and welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. So a few housekeeping things to go over before we get into the subject of this video. First, I would like to thank the 4 people that decided to subscribe to my channel since our last video. You guys really seem to like the true crime topic, so I will definitely start dabbling more into that. And that will kind of tie into this video in a way. I will talk about that later. Second, when you guys are going to be watching this, I will be celebrating my 20th birthday, which is really weird and crazy to think about. Like, I know 18 is when you're considered an adult, but 20, like, I'm no longer a teenager. Within the next decade, I may be married, have kids and all that, and that's just really weird to think about. So today we are going to be talking about the subject of my latest obsession, the Nahanni River Valley. I first heard about this place on TikTok when I came across a video of a guy talking about the creatures from, I think the movie was The Descent, so cave-dwelling creatures, and he talked about how this valley is full of caves and could harbor a creature like that potentially. And I just became sucked in. I started watching a ton of YouTube videos about it. I would remember watching Mr. Ballin's video on it. He is great. If you like this kind of content, definitely go check him out. All kinds of YouTube videos. There is a book that I want to get all about the Nahanni River Valley. All kinds of articles on the internet that I read. I just fell down the rabbit hole, and it's so interesting. So the Nahanni River Valley, or the Nahanni National Park Reserve, is located in the Southwest Territories of Canada, so very far north, and it is very isolated from more developed areas of Canada. The only way you can get there is either by foot, by boat, or by float plane. So very isolated. It does not see a lot of visitors yearly. So the Nahanni River Valley only sees about 800 to 1,000 visitors annually, which may sound like a lot, but then you compare it to places like the Grand Canyon that gets 6 million visitors per year, or Yellowstone, which get around 5 million, and you realize how few people actually go here. So one of the most notable features of the Nahanni Valley is the Naha, or the South Nahanni River, which is a very large branching whitewater river that branches into 4 canyons, these being 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th canyon. The word Nahanni is actually a word from the indigenous Dene language, which translates to river of the land of the Naha people. So that kind of leads us into our first topic. Who were the Naha people if this place is usually pretty uninhabited? Even indigenous nations back then did not really travel into this valley. It always gave bad vibes, for lack of a better words. It is said that very evil or very unfriendly things lived in that valley, so it warded off a lot of people that tried to settle there. But apparently one native nation did. So according to Dene legend, the Naha people once inhabited the valley. They were described as a warlike people that would come down from the mountains and raid their settlements. They were said to be larger than average humans and wear masks and had a tendency to decapitate their victims. So in retaliation, one day, a band of Dene warriors decided to travel into the river valley to seek revenge. When they came upon the Naha settlement, they rushed in planning on battling their own people, but what they found was instead an empty village. Now, it wasn't as if they packed up and left. There were still fires going, food was still steaming. They thought, okay, maybe they're sleeping or something, so they looked inside their tents and there was no one in there, and they just got a really bad feeling, and they remembered legends that they had heard about the valley and about cannibalistic giants that lived there and evil spirits, and they just hightailed it out of there. And from that day on, they apparently never saw the Naha people again. They had just vanished into thin air. Now, a theory does exist that the Naha people may have migrated south into the United States and into the area where the modern-day Navajo live today. I don't know if there's much evidence towards this theory. The only one that people seem to come up with is the language sounding very similar to the supposed Naha language, which of course I've never heard it. I can't testify whether it sounds familiar. So I do have something to say about that, however. So I am Native myself. I am part of the Haudenosaunee. And I learned how to speak Tuscarora. And in our class, we learned that many indigenous languages, not all of them, but a lot of them stemmed off of a base language called Proto-Iroquoian, which is the language spoken before our different nations started splitting off from each other. So there's Mohawk, Tuscarora, Seneca, Cayuga, Oneida, Onondaga, and then also Cherokee is also said to be split off from this language, and I feel like there are a couple others I'm not thinking of at the moment, but I think that it's possible that maybe rather than the Naha people being direct ancestors of the Navajo, maybe they originated from a similar language. But that's just my interpretation. It could be totally wrong. Maybe this is true and DNA studies could prove it, but as far as I know, that's the only evidence there is to support that theory. So if the only people that have said to ever settle there vanished, what else lives in that valley? Because obviously something is keeping other people out of it. So according to legend, there is a monstrous beast that lives within the valley, but also other parts of Canada, called the Wahila. So the Wahila is said to be a very large wolf-like creature with pure white fur. It's more heavily built than your average wolf. It has a bigger head, larger paws, and it is said to be about 4 feet tall at the shoulder, which is very large. I am 5'5", so this wolf would be huge compared to me. It is also said that its hind legs are shorter than its front legs, giving it kind of a gait like a hyena, if you can imagine that. Though probably not as pronounced as a hyena, since that is very extreme in their posture. So people say that they are also solitary. Unlike average wolves, they do not live in packs, and they have a tendency to decapitate their prey. Some believe that the Wahila is an evil spirit or demonic type of entity, but others believe that it could be a relic of another time period. If you don't know what I'm talking about, some people think that it could be a late surviving creature from the Pleistocene. Specifically a bear dog. What's my opinion on this? I think that if the Wahila is actually a living physical creature, that it could just be wolves that have not had to have human interaction, did not have any human contact, and were also isolated from other wolf populations being within this isolated valley. Could have potentially just taken another pathway in their adaptations. If they got bigger, they wouldn't need packs anymore. Or if food is scarce within the valley, maybe living solitarily could have been a better option. The Wahila may not be the only Pleistocene animal that lives within the Nahanni River Valley. People have claimed to see evidence of or living mammoths and mastodons. Again, people have claimed to witness these things firsthand, or they have seen what seem to be fresh tracks in the mud or bone and tusks with flesh and hair still attached. Now, do I actually believe that mammoths and mastodons and bear dogs and whatever else are still within the valley? No. However, something interesting that I did read a couple days after starting my research, according to DNA evidence, mammoths survived up to 5,000 years ago, which is 5,000 years longer than they thought mammoths survived in Canada. Now, indigenous peoples have been here for tens of thousands of years, so we did live side by side with them. Now, I don't think they're still alive today. I don't think anyone has actually seen a living one. However, I do think it's possible that maybe mammoths in the Nahanni Valley could have held out a bit longer than mammoths in other places, since, again, this was an isolated valley that indigenous people didn't want to go in and go near. So maybe they held out a little bit longer than their counterparts outside of the valley. Of course, there's no DNA evidence for this yet. I don't know if anybody has gone into the valley to test for this, but I just think it is very, very interesting that after I read this, that came up and that kind of supported something. The Nahani River Valley is absolutely a place that is shrouded in mystery and speculation, but it does not end with a missing tribe and some potential cryptids. In my next video, I will be talking about the true crime aspect of the Nahani Valley and how it got its nickname, the Headless Valley. And I promise you, this will not be another legend. These are actual true crimes that happened. See? Told you I'd wrap it back around to true crime. Yes, so there have been many deaths that have happened within this valley that have never been solved because they happened under such strange circumstances. Because while this is true crime, these are actual people that lived and traveled within the valley and died there mysteriously. Was there a serial killer within the valley? Many of the people that were found were all found in very similar circumstances. Or is there something else within the valley that is hunting people? I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Again, thank you so much for the support on the last video. I am so excited to get started on this next video coming up in this series. I don't know if it's actually going to be just be a two-parter or a series. There is a lot that I could talk about within the Nahani Valley. I'm just not sure how much you guys would be interested in. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Share this video if you think somebody else would like this video or would find the topic interesting. And I will see you guys in the next one.